Well, apparently Bill Gates isn't kidding. The world's second richest man pushing for a plan for the U.S. to spend about $5 billion to put cameras in every classroom. But the cameras aren't pointed at your kids. They're pointed at the folks teaching your kids, the teachers, saying that a watchful eye could teach them a lesson in teaching. Labor watcher Vinnie Vernuccio is all for accountability, but says this goes a little too far. You know, he was saying this, Vincent, if you think about it, before the whole Boston thing and putting cameras everywhere in street corners and in stores and banks and everywhere, even if outside folks' homes to keep track of terrorists, he's going, that is Bill Gates, to try to monitor teachers and seeing whether they're living up to their kids. What do you think of that? What is so bad about that? That's proof of getting paid for performance right there.
Well, hey, Neil, you're right. I mean, accountability, evaluations, allowing teachers to be observed by parents, all great ideas. Problem is, when you're talking about $5 billion, I mean, that money could really be spent better elsewhere. But the idea of observing teachers to see how effective they are and then eventually rewarding them for that effectiveness, that is sound, and that's
well,
going down the right path.
Then maybe, Vincent, that would be a good investment, unlike Solyndra and unlike Fisker. In other words, the $5 billion you put into this yields you tens of billions of dollars, you know, in better teachers, smarter students who make us a more competitive nation. You see where I'm getting at?
No, I see where you're getting at. Honestly, I love the Daily News did an editorial on this, and their solution was a little tongue-in-cheek, but essentially was saying, hey, why don't we just charge subscriptions? And before you go, oh, well, you know, before you do prime time, you know, are they going to watch Jenny's Class or are they going to watch Idol? But you got to figure, hey, Jenny's little brother, I mean, I think he wants to see if Jenny got in trouble more than who got the most votes. So, you know, there may be some business models for this.
Yeah, you know, and by the way, I've discovered with cameras, after a while you get used to them. And then they're ubiquitous and you don't even think about it. I know they're everywhere around me here, and I kind of, you know, understand that. So there is a danger as well as a risk. But I understand where you're coming from. But by the way, we're not in a position to be granting or crediting or investing anything right now because we don't have any money right now. There is that little asterisk to all this, right?
Oh, yeah, not having any money. Little problems, Neil, little problems.
All right, so where are we going with this? I mean, Bill Gates is all into technology, thinks it can be a friend, not an intrusive friend, but this is the week we learned that, in the past 2 weeks, that, you know, it can be looking over your shoulder and keeping you alive friend. Which ultimately wins out, you think?
Well, it's a mix, and it's, you know, what gives the better benefit? I mean, do you have, you know, are you watching for terrorists on street corners with those type of cameras versus personal privacy? Now, in the classroom, you know, that's what this comes down to, and yeah, you should be able to observe, but once again, the price tag is a little high. So it is a balance, and it's a balance we're going to have to figure out, but I generally go more on privacy in public. But when it comes to our kids, I think the parents should have the ability to observe the teachers, whether that's $5 billion for cameras, which is a little excessive, or some other format. That's what we should be looking at.
By the way, Gates can afford to fork out that dough himself if he's hot to trot on it, but that's a whole other issue.
When I first heard about this, I figured he was going to be paying for a nice donation to the country schools.
Yeah, it could help. It could help. Vincent, good seeing you again. Have a great weekend.
Neil, thanks for having me on.